I'm back again with another Rebirth Island Secrets video because the first one was so well received I thought I'd make another video exploring some of the things I didn't cover in the first one. I also just want to say thank you to everyone that watched the first video and also anyone that commented on stuff that I'd missed. I do appreciate the help. Okay, so to begin with, we'll start with weapon trade stations. Now, these machines spawn at random places around the map and they let you trade in weapons in exchange for weapons of lesser rarity and some extra loot. Now, it'll tell you what you'll get out of a weapon trade before you do it, and it's important to note that whatever rarity you're trading in, you'll get a weapon in return that is one rarity below that. So if you trade in a legendary rarity weapon, you'll get back an epic weapon. The weapons you'll get in return aren't very good and generally aren't worth using, but you will also get stuff like money, armor plates, gas masks, and other cool stuff from higher rarity weapons. But what makes this really cool is fire sales. Now, on Rebirth Island, fire sales happen every game, just as Circle 3 starts, and what I found was the first weapon you trade in during a fire sale will give you a self-revive and some cash. I found that if you trade in your weapons from a loadout and keep going until you get to the common rarity weapons, and those weapons are grey, you can end up getting tons of loot super easily and use it as a bit of a stash to come back to later. Moving on, and we have the red wooden boxes. Now, these wooden boxes are hidden all over the map, and from what I can tell, they seem to spawn in the same places in most games, although sometimes some places won't have any at all. You can either shoot or melee these wooden boxes, and they'll break apart and spit out some loot for you. Usually you'll get 2 armor plates and maybe some ammo, however I realised after a while that if you don't have a self-revive equipped, there's actually a high chance that when you break a red box, it'll give you a self-revive as well as some armor plates and some ammo. Next up are the hidden legendary weapons around the map. These legendary weapons aren't necessarily that special, but they can be helpful if you're in a jam. They're not blueprints, and picking them up doesn't do anything, but it can sometimes be better to use these instead of hoping for something decent out of a loot crate. These legendary weapons include pretty much every type of weapon class, including pistols, and I'm just going to go through and show you some of the good ones. And it's also worth noting that I'm not sure if I found every single one, as they don't always spawn in every game, but they also don't move around either. So for example, this LC-10 only spawns in this tunnel between chemical engineering and industries. I've never seen it spawn anywhere else. Of course, this sniper that sits on top of the water tower won't spawn in if the tower gets destroyed by the opening bombing run animation. You could also use these legendary weapons at a trade station too for some easy loot if you want. Again, it's useful to know where these weapons are if you need them, but I wouldn't bother with them if you have your loadout. Next up is the boats that are docked either side of the map. What's really fun here is that if you go to the top of the boat where you can drive it, or sail it, I don't know what that bit's called. It's the brig, isn't it, I think? Anyway, if you go to the top of the boats, you'll be able to see a prompt in the middle of the controls to use the horn. Now, if you interact to use the horn enough times, you'll get a voice line that says this. And then you'll see a plane fly overhead and drop a supply crate on the boat for you. Sometimes I got the supply drop after using the horn once, other times it took me 2 or 3 times to get it. The supply drop takes a little while to land, but once it does land, you can capture it and it'll give you an advanced UAV, nearly 10,000 in cash, and a precision airstrike, and also some perks as well as some other bits. You can do this on both boats to get kill streaks for your whole team and enough money for essentially an instant loadout. I'd go so far as to say this is probably better to do than going for the keycards at Stronghold, because everyone goes for that, but I don't think I've seen anyone use the boat horn in ages, so this is a really cool secret to use to your advantage. Moving on to the bunkers hidden around Rebirth, we have 2 that you can go inside of, and 2 that are currently locked, and I'm fairly doubtful that they'll ever open them. The first bunker is in the main headquarters building, and if you go onto the first floor and then go to the back of the building, there's a large yellow bunker door already open and some stairs that will take you into a basement. If you interact with the ID scanner on the wall, it will give you a coloured keycard that you can trade in at a buy station, and it gives you items from your loadout depending on the colour of it. Now, if you've used any of the ID scanners around Rebirth Island 27 times on 27 different days, this bunker door to the left of you will open a small room with an unidentified phone on the nearby table and a few loot crates. The unidentified phone will give you cash every so often, as long as someone on your team is holding it, and it's a really effective way of getting cash for use in later rounds. The next bunker is located on the northern shoreline underneath the building with a buy station in front of it. You can either enter the bunker from the side or back under the water. There's a few places where you can get your breath back, and then you can swim further into the flooded bunker to open some loot crates. There's nothing special down here per se, but again, it can be a good place to go for some easy loot. The last two bunkers which are locked are located in the Stronghold and Factory POIs. The Stronghold bunker is located underneath the cliff edge opposite the security checkpoint, and the Factory bunker is inside the underground tunnels. Both of these bunkers have always been locked in this version of Rebirth Island, and it seems very unlikely they'll ever open them at this point. I did make a video about these bunkers a while back because I discovered they had loot crates inside of them, but I'm guessing that was because they reused the old Rebirth Island to make this new version, and it was just leftover assets. So unfortunately you can't open these bunkers, but in any case, if they do ever open, this is where they are. The last secret on Rebirth Island is kinda weird, but I thought this was really cool and I wanted to share it with you. So during Modern Warfare 3, they added Squad Rage to the game, which is basically a way for players to use the Battle Rage field upgrade, but on your whole team instead of just you. Now, since Black Ops 6 was integrated into Warzone, they actually replaced Squad Rage with Warcry, but it does the same thing. And the only instance of Warcry in the game is from the Foresight Easter egg, where you do the water pressure thing in chemical engineering. What I found was really cool though, was that there's a note in one of the small buildings at living quarters, which has a note and it explains the backstory of Squad Rage, and it actually stands for Rapid Acting General Enhancement. It seems like part of the lore behind Rebirth Island is it's being used by Makarov and his Coney group to test special biological weapons, and Squad Rage was one of those tests. I thought this was actually pretty cool and an interesting way of explaining what's going on within Rebirth Island for those that care about the Warzone storyline. There are other notes around Rebirth Island as well, but generally speaking, these notes don't really include too much detail, and were only meant to serve as tiny Easter eggs for those that were invested in Warzone lore. Either way, I appreciated it. So that's all the secrets on Rebirth Island I could think of for part 2. Unless Activision does a big update to Rebirth, I doubt there'll be a part 3, but thank you to everyone that watched the first video, and thank you for watching this second video. I also want to thank my channel members for your continued support, and if you want to help me out, then please consider clicking the join button down below to get your badge as well. Please remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye!